Too big to fail. How AI became cognitive infrastructure and what 40 years inside it taught me about the pull. For most of my career, I built the tools. In the late 1980s, I spent 12 to 16 hours a day inside neural network systems, building the methodology that would later underpin much of what we now call artificial intelligence. Then, about 3 years ago, something inverted. With mature language models and command line tools, my time inside these systems surged back to early career levels. Not building, using. That U-shaped curve, enormous time, then much less, then enormous again, is where this gets interesting. Because the hook is most visible to someone who has watched it from every angle for 40 years. Let me say plainly what I think is happening. AI has become a dopamine business. Dopamine businesses are not new. Gambling, alcohol, the engineered unpredictability of a slot machine all run on the same circuitry. The system that drives wanting rather than simple pleasure. What changed is the engineering precision. Our brakes, the satiation and aversion that say enough are real. They just evolved for a quieter world, and the gas pedal is now operated by systems built to press just below the threshold where the brake activates. This is the same mechanism Big Food used. For decades, food scientists engineered hyper-palatable products toward a bliss point, optimized to override the body's signal that says enough. The result is that most American adults are now metabolically compromised. Big tech learned the playbook and applied it to cognition. The medium changed. The strategy did not. A well-designed model interaction generates exactly the patterns that sustain an engagement loop. An incomplete answer that pulls a follow-up. A walkthrough that needs many turns. I run Claude, Codex, Droid, and Gemini, all via command line, woven into the architecture of my daily work. The value is real, so is the pull. Both can be true at once. Here's what concerns me most. I have worn corrective lenses most of my life, and in engineering school, my prescription kept escalating because the correction was quietly weakening the underlying capacity. When I stopped reaching for the lenses reflexively, my vision adapted. Physiology has a name for this, hormetic stress. Strategic controlled withdrawal from a support can strengthen what the support was masking. I think about that whenever I consider AI dependency. The risk is not that AI makes my thinking worse in the moment, it makes it better. The risk is the longer trajectory, whether continuous delegation gradually atrophies the capability being delegated. We have seen this transition before. Somewhere before 2008, certain institutions became too big to fail. Too big to fail does not mean well managed. It means the cost of the absence has grown larger than the cost of the presence. AI is following that trajectory faster and across more domains at once. The threshold's not about capability, it is about when the absence of something becomes more destabilizing than its presence. I believe that threshold has already been crossed, so I keep a checkpoint. Am I using AI to amplify my thinking or replace it? Am I still capable of doing the work without it, even if slower? Am I asking it to challenge me or just to execute? Am I aware of where it is likely to be wrong? The answer is not retreat. It is measurement, awareness, and deliberate practice. Know your baseline, track what is changing, build in periodic resistance. The pull is real, and it is worth examining honestly. I'm Dr. Stephen Muskal. This has been Too Big to Fail. Unsubscribe. Come with me for what's next.